This year's World Series of Bowling is more than halfway done, but through 5 events, not a single American has won a title. Today, Sean Rash and Chris Barnes are out to put an end to that streak, each hoping to survive in a contest that includes the Australian two-hander Jason Belmonte, who captured February's Chameleon Open, and last season's Player of the Year, Mika Koivuniemi. The Big Fin kicked off the World Series with a win in the World Bowling Tour Championship. Will international bowling dominance continue here in Las Vegas? Find out as the World Series of Bowling rolls on with the GEICO Shark Open. After last week's U.S. Open, the PBA Tour has returned to Las Vegas for more World Series of Bowling action. Today, the South Point Hotel and Convention Center hosts the GEICO Shark Open. And here is your loaded 4-man fields. Your number 4 seed and reigning PBA Player of the Year, Mika Koivuniemi.
The reigning Player of the Year brings a perfect blend of fearlessness and confidence to every telecast. Beware of the major.
He is no stranger to TV this season, your 3 seed, Sean Rash.
Top gun, young gun, call him what you will. The question is, can Rash bring the big guns today and win?
He won 3 weeks ago at the Chameleon Open, your 2 seed. Smile for us, Jason Belmonte.
He's won an ESPY, he's won multiple titles, and he's proving not only that he's the best two-handed player out here, but one of the best players, period.
And your number 1 seed from Double Oak, Texas, Hall of Famer to be, Chris Barnes.
One of the greatest in the game, the ultimate strategist, and a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame.
Loaded field, Randy, for another eliminator format. All 4 bowlers hitting the hardwood in match number 1, low score out. A repeat in match number 2 until only 2 remain. Mika Koivuniemi will start us off. Go back to early December. Mika won the opening event of the season, the World Bowling Tour Finals presented by the PBA. Leaves the 2-6 on the left lane. Jason Belmonte and his two-handed style step up on the right. This is the 3rd animal oil pattern show that he has made this season. And Belmo starts off there with a strike. As we mentioned, a very successful World Series of Bowling so far for Jason. Back in early January, he would roll a perfect 300 game during the Albee division of the PBA World Championship. And then 3 weeks ago, he conquered the Chameleon Open, an absolute beatdown there as Belmo took down Sean Rash 268 to 191. And then last week, a 3rd place finish in the U.S. Open. Jason, the 3rd seed, beaten by Pete Weber 225, 213 in the 2nd match of the stepladder finals. Weber would then advance to face Belmo's good friend and the number 1 overall seed, Mike Fagan. It all came down to the last shot. Weber had to strike on this final ball of the match to win a record 5th Open.
That is right, I did it! At number 5! Are you kidding me? That's right! Who do you think you are? I am!
Congrats again to PDW. Up next, the reigning Player of the Year and the runner-up in last year's Open, Mika Koivuniemi.
And you look at the 4 players on today's telecast, Mika really doesn't fit in. I mean, all the other 3 players, lots of power. Sean Rash, Chris Barnes, Jason Belmonte. Mika's a straight down and in player, but you know what? He does surprisingly well on this shark oil pattern, which just happens to be the longest of the animal patterns.
Sean Rash with an opening strike. And Chris Barnes dropped a 299 in game 1 of qualifying. leaves the 10 pin.
Exactly.
Bowling on the shark oil pattern, 43 feet long, the longest of the animal patterns.
No big surprise that Chris Barnes had success on this oil pattern. Real heavy up the back, end over end roller, and a lot of revs.
Barnes with the spare. Close out the first. Mika on the right lane went from 13th to 4th in the round of 16. Back-to-back spares for Major Mika. And a quick little comment there to Chris Barnes on his way back to the seat. Those two very good friends, and Barnes has nothing but respect for his buddy, the Big Finn.
Mika Koivuniemi. Great shot maker. Very focused, very disciplined, and a great friend and my roommate. And the last word would be godparent. We're the godparents to his youngest daughter.
Two guys that enjoy competing against one another very much. Here's Belmo in the second.
Could have bet $1 million on that one.
Probably got it in just a bit. Anytime you get the ball a little left and there is oil, the ball will skid just a little bit farther down the lane, and then when it does break loose, it's coming in at the wrong angle. The result's usually a ringing 10.
Right through the nose.
3-6-10.
Good grief.
Strike spare for Belmo to start. Three, 6, 10, and they all drop.
Third time this week I made that one.
Rash on the left.
Easy there. Don't need to be seeing any pocket 7-10s.
Double shot of Messengers, took down the 10. Here he goes after the 7 and drops that into the pit. There's where we stand. Early stages through 2 frames. The low man will not advance to match number 2.
Remember, it's the low score that is eliminated after each game. You have to be the high score. You just don't want to be the low one. You know, when the front part of the lane breaks down, Mika goes with the air ball. He starts to loft.
I was going to say, it looked like he was going to the loft, I think on the first frame, if I wasn't mistaken, and it seems to be extending.
And I'll tell you, nobody blows an oil pattern apart more than Sean Rash and Jason Belmonte.
Open frame
That was all the lane, that one.
for Jason. Barnes steps up. 9 spare, 7 spare.
Nice shot there for Sean Rash. He gets in the swish zone and there's a nice little mixer there.
Jason Belmonte trying to recover from that open in the third. Belmo bounces back with the strike. Up next, Mika Koivuniemi. His disdain for lefties is well known, but how does he feel about the two-handers?
The two-handed style with 2-3 new guys, and like Jason and Oscar, they are really good with that. And I don't have a problem because it's by the rules, they can do that, and of course they can create more power than anybody else. And if they are given a little more room, they are tough to beat because they will strike more than most of us.
Mika spare strike. Here he is in the fourth.
Right lane starting to go early. You saw Belmonte go through the nose. Now Mika, an incredibly tough spare. Mika's got to get the ball into this area here and have enough bowling ball and power to drive that back pin out, the 9-pin. Not textbook, but effective.
Survive. That is the call here.
Yeah, it's all about that. I mean, this is not the way you would draw it up, but on this shark oil pattern, if you get the ball going a little bit too far to the right, there's a big ledge of oil there. It'll fall right off.
Rash.
Well, when you're a player on the tour and your ball hits like that, you would say that my bowling ball is going to come back with dental floss on it. Plaque.
Barnes in the fourth gets another strike. There's Team Barnes, his wife Linda with a bad wing. Rash takes care of the 10-pin. We're done with 4. Only 3 will move on here at the Geico Shark Open, and Jason Belmonte in the basement for now.
The Geico Shark Open is brought to you by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. By Budweiser, great times are waiting, grab some buds. By Barbazol, start your day cool with new Arctic Chill shaving cream from Barbazol. Better by Barbazol. And by the USBC and its 2 million members. To find out more about USBC, log on to bowl.com. Rob Stone and Randy Peterson welcome you back to Las Vegas in the World Series of Bowling. Before we return to our coverage of the final of the Geico Shark Open, let's take a look at some highlights from qualifying. Chris Barnes, who shot a .299 in the first round of qualifying, came back here in the round of 16, .290 in the second, .268 in the third, and another .268 in the sixth and final game. That helped him jump from third to the #1 spot over Jason Belmonte and Sean Rash. As for the fourth and final spot in today's show, that came down to Mika Koivuniemi and Jack Jurek. Mika shooting a .280 in his final game of match play, which meant Jack Jurek had to strike here in the 10th frame to make the show. Jack leads the 10-pin, fails to make the show today by just a single pin. And there are the final standings and the total pinfall from qualifying. Chris Barnes just so solid, averaging better than a .235 for the 14 games. And we now start the fifth with our #4 seed, Mika Koivuniemi.
Right of target.
Errant shot. Boy, this is just a big whiff for Mika. A lot of velocity, no hand, and then it just goes right through the back of the pin deck.
Belmo stepping up on the right side, working off a strike.
10 pin. Great shot.
Mika's going to try to get the ball over into this area here and drive the head pin over into the 10. The ball will take out the 2 and the 4.
He hasn't followed your guidance yet today.
It's not. Well, he's listening now. A little too heavy on the head pin.
So an open frame from Major Mika and a major opening for the rest of the field. Belmo, 10 pin.
Belmo now only 2 back of Mika.
And there you see the list of champions so far at the World Series of Bowling, both Mika Koivuniemi and Jason Belmonte. Among those getting the job done, the big story here so far, not one American has captured a World Series trophy here in Las Vegas this season.
Barnes looking for the first 3-bagger of the match. High fives with the boys and the wife. Linda, Ryan, and Troy here to watch Dad and hubby. You see Linda, very accomplished bowler in her own right, had labrum surgery on her shoulder a couple months ago. 4-pin left standing by Rash.
She told us earlier that she hurt her shoulder taking a swing at Chris. And now you're saying she had shoulder surgery.
Both stories may be correct. You're stirring the pot there. Don't go there, my friend.
She actually said that.
She's a good one. Belmo on the left. Gets them all to drop in the 6th. His 3rd strike of this match. Rash. Boy, every time he throws those single pin spares, I just see an angry man with the velocity of that ball.
Mika hasn't gotten more than 6 on his first shot in the last 2 frames.
Had an open frame on his last effort. Last strike was his only one. Came in the 3rd.
Much better. Only to leave a ringing 10. Profile of Mika Koivuniemi, big tall man, perfect body position at the foul line. Not a good result, not what he was looking for.
Rash on the left gets them all to drop.
Sean Rash pulling a nice steady Eddie 199 game.
Major Mika, the big 6'4", 185 product via Finland, who now resides in Heartland, Michigan with the spare.
One of the things I think that most people don't know about Mika is he is probably one of the funniest guys on tour. Just the driest sense of humor, and just, I mean, an absolute riot.
I'm sure he's funny if you can fight through the accent.
He is so incredibly funny and witty.
His wife and oldest daughter here, as his good friend Chris Barnes steps up, fires in the 6th, and another strike for Barney.
Barnesy looking pretty solid here in the opening match.
Remember, little ham bone there for Barney as well.
Remember, it's low score out right now. That is Jason Belmonte by 2 behind Mika. Barnesy's bowling a very tidy 220 game. Sean Rash, high 190s.
Last 3 frames for Mika, spare, open, spare.
There's a strike for Mika. He's still neck and neck with Belmo, who, by the way, says he idolizes the big fin.
Mika Koivuniemi is probably the most powerfully mental gamed person out here. He's no matter what he's bowling, he's given it 100%, and he's constantly working out how to beat the lanes. And you watch him, and it's like he's mentally knocking the pins over. I mean, he's so strong, and he's something that I idolize about him, is being able to be as good as him when it matters most.
Well, if Jason doesn't watch out, his idol may just send him packing. That puts Mika 2 pins ahead, assuming Belmo gets the spare.
Barnes on the left lane. Looking for 5 in a row here in the 7th.
Push. Barnes good.
Yeah, the last thing Chris would want to see with that is a 9-pin. That ball just a shade high. It's all about filling frames now. He's got a nice, comfortable lead.
There's Belmo trying to fill a frame. And he will in the 7th. Jason and his wife, Kimberly.
It would have struck if I slowed down.
About a month and change away from welcoming their 2nd child. Barnes, spare in the 7th. It's been a wonderfully successful World Series of Bowling for Sean Rash, but Randy, at the same time, an immensely disappointing.
Not enough W's.
Not even close. So many runners-up finishes.
Not again.
2-8-10 split.
Just a little too much pace. It blows right through the end of the spot, off the end of the pattern, and it's 2-8-10.
All right. Love it.
He just backed up now to Belmo and Mika. 3 players in the 180s, and then there's Chris Barnes.
Yeah, Barnes sitting very comfortably in that catbird seat. Belmo to open us up in the 8th. Working off a spare. Leaves the 10.
Jeez Louise.
Hard to believe that Belmonte would be leading the bottom of the list. I think with all that power, he does really well on the longer oil patterns. But right now, he finds himself 2 pins behind Mika.
Things awfully congested there at the 2, 3, 4 spot, and whew, a late lean and drop from Mika will make this effort much more manageable.
That was almost disastrous.
Belmo on the left lane. Trying to finish up another 9 spare. Four 7 in the sights for Mika on the right lane. Sean Rash in the 8th had that open frame in the 7th. Let's see how he can respond. It has been a long, grinding World Series of bowling.
Nice shot there. And nice recovery after the 2-8-10 on the right lane.
Well, we asked Sean's wife, Sarah, who's also a bowler, if she's ever offered any tips to her hubby or his coach, Chuck Gardner.
To me, he's incredible, and sometimes I think some of the shots he makes is flawless, but Chuck sees his elbow get out a little bit, and some of that stuff I don't see. I'm an amateur bowler at best. So.
Sarah, Gene,
They've been staples here in Vegas at the World Series of Bowling.
You know, the folks at home are starting to know them as much as Sean.
I think we've seen the entire wardrobe from Sarah here over the course of the World Series of Bowling. Cleaned out her closet.
Gene's going to start signing autographs as he goes through the airport.
Too nice to that one.
Aren't you Sean Rash's dad?
Oh, that's wonderful. It's great to have that family support. They're sitting just about 2 feet away from the Barnes family. Mika Koivuniemi's clan in attendance as well. Jason Belmonte all alone, though, as his wife back home in Australia, getting set to give birth to their 2nd child. Mika. Big strike by Mika.
A quick question to Chris Barnes.
Chris, what's the secret to advancing here early on in the eliminator format?
Well, it seems to be just, you know, really hitting the pocket enough to not leave some splits. Everybody's had an early split or something that they couldn't make, and they're a little tight, obviously, down lane. This shark pattern's awfully long. So I've been able to put together a couple of strikes, got that one bonus one turned into a four-bagger, but for the rest of the guys, it seems to be staying out of trouble is half the battle. For Belmo, it's just knocking the 10-pin over.
Well, we appreciate Chris being wired up today, conversing with us. Walks away from the 10-pin, drops that one into the pit. So Barnes remains clean. Jason Belmonte stepping up and trailing. Need to get into the top 3. Belmo 3 pins behind Mika as we begin the 9th. Well, Mika already had a strike in the 9th, and there's Belmo's response.
That was a really nice shot. Fun to watch that one. That ball there would have knocked down 30 pins. Had so much stuff on it.
Strike number 5. And it goes back to the family. Exchanging some skin. Now, what a thrill for those youngsters to be there and see Dad able to perform. Sean Rash. Yeah, big strike from Rash.
Chris Barnes, by the way, safe and moving on. Sean Rash just made himself one step closer to doing the same. Best Belmonte can shoot 201. Mika 204. Rash 217. And Barnes is already in the 220s.
Everybody struck in the 9th. We move to the 10th. Belmo trying to gain ground. Having difficulty getting that opening and leapfrogging Koivuniemi. It's a good start.
Hey, Mr. Big Shot. Mika's got to match whatever Belmonte does. If Mika does not strike on this ball, Belmonte goes around him. That may just seal the deal for Mika. May just seal his fate. Right through the nose. If he converts and strikes, he shoots 184. Belmonte is now in the 190s. Rash in the 190s. It's all but over for Mika Koivuniemi.
That's a big if he converts that. Belmo. Played that one a little safe.
Just looking for count. He's safe and moving on.
Kicks it. Not enough. Mika's done. The look says it all. Chris Barnes, dominant in match number 1. Sean Rash, Jason Belmonte will join him next for match number 2.